So everything you just saw was shot on the DJI Pocket 3, the brand newest addition to the Pocket series that comes 3 years after the Pocket 2, which was a really nice camera that I enjoyed using, but it did struggle in some scenarios like low light and whatnot because it was just a little pocket camera. Now I'm filming on the Pocket 3 right now. I'm using face tracking, and as you can see, this thing in terms of quality is a lot better than the Pocket 2 here. And I'm just going to go through and give you a brief overview of my experience so far and where this thing hits the mark and where it's missed kind of a few maybe, but overall I think it's a huge upgrade, guys. And it's also worth mentioning that this is not a paid sponsorship. I bought this thing for 1,000 Canadian dollars. No, it's not cheap, but yeah, I'm going to give you my full honest opinion on this thing. It's looking pretty darn good. So again, I've got the face tracking on here, and I got to say it's a huge improvement over the Pocket 2. Like if you did use the active track on the Pocket 2, it was kind of hit or miss, and especially in high contrast situations, it did struggle a little bit. So that's one thing to note, active tracking, and again, you be the judge, but the overall image quality was hugely improved in the Pocket 3. And I think, yeah, as I look like a freaking crazy person over here talking to a tiny camera on the back of my truck, I think this thing in terms of quality has absolutely blown me away, and I think that most people are going to notice a huge difference. And there's one aspect that the new 1-inch sensor is absolutely killing it, and that's in low light performance. As you can see here, and you saw at the beginning, this thing in low light is no joke. And this is actually rivaling some of the mirrorless cameras that we're using for our A-roll these days, which is just insane. So fantastic job to DJI for putting a 1-inch sensor in something like this. We've been asking for this for years, but I guess technology wasn't there. So 3 years later, here we are. So let's talk about some of the stuff that actually matters. Notably the image quality, of course. It's going to be able to shoot 10-bit, which is mental. So if you are into some crazy video editing, you're going to be able to get some really good looking footage. But this right here, most of what you've seen here today is just straight out of camera. Basically no editing whatsoever. You turn it on, you press record, and this is what you're going to get. So pretty darn impressive, if you ask me, in terms of the image quality. But what about the other things? What about the gimmicky stuff that sometimes doesn't look great, like the 4K 120, for example? Well, again, you be the judge. I think it looks pretty darn good. They've added the active track for up to 4K 60, which is a big improvement on the original, which is going to be ample. I don't think that most people need 120, but 60 is going to be great for slow motion and post as well. And again, the low light is where this thing is just blowing my mind. So other than that, we've got slow motion, we've got the faster frame rates, we've got 10-bit. Active tracking, autofocus, as you can see, is pretty darn good. It's going to be able to focus relatively quickly. Its minimum focus distance, I think, is around 20 centimeters, and I will throw that up here if I'm wrong, but it's decent, and I wouldn't really worry about that anyway. It's got continuous autofocus, which means it's gonna nail focus on what it's probably thinking is the best subject, which is usually a face most of the time. But other than that, there are some notable features that I think are huge improvements. One is battery life. Now this thing charges from 0 to 80% in 16 minutes. Now that can be huge, especially when you're a content creator. You forget that this thing's not charged or you're on the go. 16 minutes is just fantastic. 32 for a full charge, and if you opted for the creator combo, you're gonna get the extra battery grip and whatnot. Just cool, just a really great feature. And I kind of expect nothing less in this day and age. Battery life has got to be getting better and better. But I did want to touch on the creator combo. Of course, you do have the option between the creator combo or not. You pay a bit more. I think there's value there, but there's one thing that people are a bit upset about. The initial reviewers that were sent a bunch of stuff, including the camera, did get a black mist filter. There's even a spot in the case for the black mist filter, but you actually don't get it. It's another 50 bucks if you want it, and it's going to basically take away that digital look to your footage, but it's not included, so that's worth noting. What is included is the little attachment here for the wide angle lens, which is a little magnet, and that's what it looks like. Whoa, where are you going over there? So yeah, it's not perfect, of course. You have to make some adjustments from time to time. You can turn on face tracking so that it automatically detects a face in the frame and goes to it. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to double tap on your subject right there. Now, right there, you saw that it kind of went crazy when I put that lens on, and yeah, maybe legitimate, the autofocus was kind of trying to keep up a little bit, but you're not going to be probably switching that thing anyways. Let's try again. So here is with the wide angle lens off, and this is at a 20mm equivalent. Again, if I mentioned, with the lens on, it is a 15mm equivalent, and I didn't actually freak out that time. So 20 is great for vlogging and stuff. 15 is extra wide. Going to be great for indoors, for you know, fitting tons in the frame, but 20 is ample for me. I think for vlogging and for most content creators, 20 is going to be perfect. And do keep in mind, if you're putting on extra glass or wide angle lenses, it is going to degrade the quality a little bit because, well, it's just more glass to get in the way of the sensor. So at this point, there are going to be a few ND filters available, probably from DJI, but keep an eye out for people like Freewell that usually come out with a kit pretty darn quick here, which I will update you when they get one in my hands coming up, and they're always a great value and going to provide even better footage in like really bright conditions like this.
So here we are in the truck, and this is kind of a test of the audio. I'm about an arm's length away from this thing, so it's being picked up on the 3 microphones of the DJI Pocket 3. What do you think of the difference between the audio of the in-camera mics here
and the wireless DJI Mic 2 that comes with the Creator Combo? This is what the difference is that you're going to be able to hear. You can also use this as a lav extension, so you can plug in a little lav mic into this guy and run it through your body. So if you don't want to see this kind of weird, hairy looking thing, that's an option too. But let me know what you think about the audio quality down in the comments. So other than that, the build of this thing, the big 2-inch flippy screen thing is amazing. You flip it and it turns on right away. You can shoot in horizontal mode, or you can flip it up and actually shoot in vertical mode for your shorts or for your social media posts. It is gonna go to 3K when it's in vertical, not a true 4K, but I find that it's quite good. It's ample for most people anyways. And again, you're probably not going to be using this thing for the utmost professional work anyways, but for most content creators and for family stuff and for fun stuff, it's just great. The touchscreen is quick and responsive. It's intuitive. It's not overwhelming with settings and whatnot. It's really easy to find and use. We've got 2 buttons on the front, a record button, a joystick, which doubles as a button to be able to flip it around or center the gimbal. It just works. And I think if you put it in your hand, it just feels a lot better. And again, a lot more intuitive than the Pocket 2, a lot more enjoyable of an experience. I also wanted to talk about the stabilization for a second. This is, of course, a 3-axis gimbal stabilized camera, opposed to a lot of our action cameras these days, which have digital software stabilization. Now, of course, the huge benefit to this is it's going to be a lot better stabilized in low light, like a lot better. But also consider that this thing is going to be not waterproof. This is going to be not an action camera. You can't take this underwater and whatnot, but it's going to be great for handheld shots. It's going to be just amazing. Now, this is fixed to my truck, and there's a lot of bumps and stuff going on here on this nasty road. So let's see what this footage looks like. It's not going to be obviously as nice as if you were hand holding it. Let's see if there's some artifacts and some jitter and whatnot. But trust me when I say, in most situations, and definitely in low light, this thing is going to be far superior than your typical action camera. So I wanted to give you my first impressions of this thing without going into depth, and you probably want to see the differences more so between this guy and the Pocket 2, and I'll do a video on that. But if there's something that you wanted to see, again, unbiased, I bought this thing myself, between this guy and the Pocket 2, or just whatever I'm going to be doing with this thing, drop it down in the comments, guys. I hope you liked this video and it helped you out. If it did, if you found value out of it, hit that like and subscribe button, join the community, and like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.